everybody, it's Dr. Fudge again. I hope everybody had a great first week, and I want to get started pretty early with your action research proposal. Just based on feedback that I get from students, I think it's best if we get started early. And this is a template that I have developed myself just to keep you organized. This is the actual formatting that I would like you to use for the action research proposal. You can use this template and just kind of fill in the spaces as you go. First of all, you notice the title page, and if you watch the last video, keep in mind how the running head is formatted and how your numbering starts. The name of your paper, your name, the name of the university, and you can include my name in here if you like. Notice on page 2 that this is in all caps and running head is included. Here I'm not sure if this just does it by itself. But although this is not included in your rubric for the action research proposal, I do like you to include an abstract because I think it keeps you on track and kind of keeps you organized. This is just a place where you'll give a brief description of your study. It shouldn't be more than one paragraph long. It says make sure that you indent your paragraphs. Indent all paragraphs except for this one. Your entire paper should be Times Roman 12 font, double space. You'll need a separate title page as well as a separate reference page and appendices at the end, and we'll go over that in a minute. It says if you follow my formatting, you'll be successful. The header gets a little bit tricky. The title page will be the only one that says running head, and you'll need to change the other headers. And as I said in the last video, you may have to go to Google to get some tips on how to make your first page header different than all your other pages. And make sure that all your pages are numbered. I've included the headers for the rest of the paper. They need to be bold, and then some others that don't. Okay, you'll put the title of your paper, and make sure when you include the title of your paper that all words are capitalized. 4 letters and above will be capitalized. The introduction background, you'll explain the problem that you've identified and how it came to your attention. Now, when I say how it came to your attention, it doesn't mean that you will use first person and say, I first discovered this. Find other ways to word it without using first person, because as I said last week, this is a graduate level. You need to start getting used to staying away from first person, that I, me, my, but use other ways. And in this section, I want you to talk about the issue or the problem that you're going to be researching. You don't have to give specific studies and specific statistics, but do use some cited evidence from other sources in this area that, kind of give a background. And you want some cited background to your issue. You'll include research questions. I've had students in the past that would have 5 and 6 research questions. Really, you only need a few. And here under research questions, what questions did you arrive at to answer? We'll develop those throughout this term, so don't get too upset about the research questions. And they're going to look a little bit different. If you've got quantitative, it's you're going to measure. Your questions are asking more about measurement. If you're looking at qualitative, you're looking more at how or what questions. And then the variables. What are the independent and dependent variables in your in your questions and in your study, if it's qualitative, if you're using a qualitative design, you will not have independent and dependent variables. Previous research. This is the place that you explain from a theoretical perspective the background of the issue. And when I say theoretical perspective, you may be looking at, those of us that have been in education, you think about Piaget, Erickson, Vygotsky, all the famous theorists. Or it may be something new. It may be a new theory that's arisen. So you want to include some theory in this section that kind of serves as a background. What are you looking at? What are you, from what perspective are you looking at this paper? How does it tie into theory? It says summarize what you've learned about the question or possible approaches in your reading of scholarly and trade articles. This is the place where I would like you to include some statistics, some studies that you've looked at that kind of make a case for your issue. The previous research will be the longest portion of your paper. And as you set it up, I would really like you to set this, you'll have an introductory paragraph in this area, then you might go through your theory and how it ties into your issue, and then you might tackle, study by study, and devote a paragraph to each study. So this is going to be the longest section. Then the process, you'll clearly describe the strategy, approach, or intervention you use and what steps you took. In the process, I want you to go all the way through from the minute you ask permission from your school till you got consents from participants, all the way to, let's say you were studying math interventions, that you gave the students a pre-test, you included some kind of math intervention, and then you gave them the post-test. So I want you to include all of that in the process. And again, don't get too caught up. Don't start to panic when I'm going over this. I want you to just think about what I'm saying as you go along, because when you read the chapters, it'll kind of fit into this format. Then data collection and analysis. Explain the kinds of data that you collected or that you would collect. Either in the text or in the appendices or appendix, include the documents, which are considered instruments. That's what's mentioned in your rubric. And if you have, if you're using quantitative, the type of data that you collect will be numerical in nature. And it may be a certain kind of test or standardized test that you're going to use. If you have a certain test that you use, if you use surveys, if you use interview questions, a letter to parents asking permission, all of these will be included in this section, and they'll also be included as an appendix, or this will be the appendices, and each one will get their own letter. It'll be Appendix A, Appendix B. Now, again, don't panic. Next week I'm going to make a video and I'm going to go over the example, and we'll go over step by step again, and I'll show you all of the different components that are included in this example. So this is just to give you an idea so you know what you're up against for the rest of the term. How did you analyze, or how would you analyze the data that you collect? And it could be that you're going to use, I don't know, if you're using traditional research, you're going to use SPSS, or you might use Minitab, or you might just use the basic Microsoft Excel. And that's how you would collect quantitative. That's if it's a quantitative. If it's qualitative, you're going to group your data together in trends. If you're doing interviews or you're doing surveys, you'll group together little segments of things that you found in each of your interviews. So each portion of data collection will be different depending on if it's quantitative or qualitative. And again, this is kind of, I won't say it's the cart before the horse, but you know, there are a lot of blanks to fill in with this. I'm just kind of giving you a little overview. So as we go, these are things that you'll be looking for. And then finally, the results. And I want to make this clear because not all of you are in a classroom, and not all of you are going to have an opportunity to conduct this research. So if you're able to conduct the research, it says find a way to present your results. Go back to your original question. What answer did your findings suggest? So if you're able to conduct this, you may have some results in this area. If you're not, you're only going to include what you expect to find. Then implications for future educational practice. How do you envision your research being used by yourself or other colleagues? What difference will it make in your instruction? And I would say that this is the one area that I do not mind if you use first person, because this is the way that you can explain how you will use it or how colleagues will use it. What new questions may have arisen or emerged from the results of this study? Then you'll have a separate page for references, cite articles in APA format, and I've given you this, I gave you this link last week for Al Purdue to help you with APA formatting, so if you have any questions, please refer to Al Purdue. And then finally, the appendix. It says include any and all survey or interview questions if you have letters to participants or other items. If you include the item in your paper directly, it will not be part of the appendices. That means if you were actually to cut and paste the interview questions or the survey or whatever directly in your paper, you would not have to put it in this area. I actually think it's better to put them in this area than it would to put it in your paper. Each item will have its own appendix and will be assigned a letter, appendix A, B, C, so forth. And each appendix needs to be on a separate paper or a separate page. Do not bold this area. If you talk about the survey, if you talk about the letter that you'll write home to parents or interview questions that you're going to submit, always put in parentheses next to that and put what appendix it is. And again, I will go over this in so much detail throughout the term. I just kind of wanted to give you an idea because I don't want you to be surprised as we go along. I want you to be prepared. And I think after this first milestone that you complete this week, it's only supposed to be 1 to 2 pages. It will not be formatted like this. You're just going to give me a basic idea of what you want to do, some questions that you may have, and I'm going to try to steer you in the right direction. It's after that that you can start filling in these sections and fill them in a little bit at a time. This is not graded. The milestones that you turn in will not be graded, but this final proposal will. So I'm running out of time. If you have any questions, please email, and I will speak to you soon. Thanks so much, and have a great week.